So we've set up our painting, we've set up our image, we've created a relationship between the two, we've even started to create some context with the toning of the canvas. Now, I have to take a moment, I need a sip of tea here. Now we're going to start getting some of these forms on there. I see this big circular oval-like form right here. I see this big one that's right here. I even see this shape right here of this particular tool. There's some big horizontals there, not horizontals, but diagonals from that. And then there's this big swooping sort of loopy background. I'm actually going to find that first because it's a nice base. One of the things about paintings, we want to kind of work from the outside in and from the back to the front. Because usually the more detailed things are in the front or in the middle. And if we start working on those and then work from the inside out, a lot of times what happens is things start getting one, out of proportion, and two, they start getting out of value. And when we start adding in color, they start to get off in the color scheme of where things are. So if we start from outside in, we build context around it. We'll have information all around the things as we move towards the middle. So I'm starting in the back here because this is a big divider. You'll see that I think it's like almost halfway, just a little bit less, so a little bit more, I mean. Perfect, okay. Now, it kind of arcs over really shallowly, and then you'll see it tips right here over. Let's kind of get a sense of how high that is. It's about a third. I'm off. Yep, so let's bring it down. I think it needs to be about right there. It's a little higher. Two, three, I could go a little bit higher. That's okay. It's a super shallow arc. And it's actually, it's a dish that I keep in my studio that I keep all of my wheel building tools in for bicycling, and it's long and low. Time to go. Okay, so now I've kind of established that. I also want to establish some of the things in the background here. You'll notice I'm going to come over here and start to find, there's a big shape over here that kind of divides. I'm also looking at it in relationship to the space between this form right here, this dark one, and this lighter one. So I'm constantly judging. I'm not too worried about it being perfect right now. I'm sorry, I need some water. I almost dipped in my tea. I'm just trying to get some lines in there that represent this thing. Let's get that in. Let's come over, start to find this form. Right now, I'm going to start getting a lot of stuff moving fast. I'm not going to worry too much about it being perfect. So what I did was I gave myself some lines in here. One of them is, you see this form right here? It's right there. If you look over, there's another form here. The edge of it's right there. These lines I gave myself are actually these long lights that I see here. I don't know quite where they go yet. I'm not worried about that. I'm just starting to get things out there. This line represents this line, and you'll see that if I take my brush, the angle matches up. I need to find space still for this thing right here. Not too worried about it being perfect, but I'm starting to find it. And it's just a sketch. That's all it is, just a sketch. And if you mess up, who cares? You can fix it with paint as you go. But we don't know if something's right or wrong until we start getting it in there and relating it to other parts. So now what I want to do is find the height of this big circular piece right here. See it? I just want to find the top of this arc. It's right in here somewhere. Paint's not flowing. It's a little darker than I like it too. That's okay. Just going to kind of eyeball where this thing finishes. So this is a foreshortened circular object, so it's going to be out here somewhere. And again, don't worry about it being perfect. See, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to find this big arc. I found this, see it? Got this big arc happening. I've got this and this and this. Lines going across. I've started to find this big dark shape right there. See it? I don't know quite where it's at. I'm not worried about that. I found all of those pieces right now. Now I need to start to establish a couple of other things. If I move back to front, I've got to start with these long objects that shift across diagonally here. I could put them in. I don't think that I actually need to work back to front on this. I think that we've got this shape here. I know that somewhere in here it's going to be this other shape. Not getting too caught up on it being correct, just finding the shape of it right now. I've got a piece right here that I need to find. Okay, leave that alone. We could come in and find those long diagonals this way, which does work, and it makes sense. Now I'm seeing where it lands on this arc, see? So there. Now, let's find the other one right below it. Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there is this long one. See, it's a sketch. It's not even the thing yet, but it's starting to get us there. Now, we have the much harder work of finding this more complicated shape here. I'm actually going to simplify it a little bit. There. I'm just trying to find a line that diagonals across here and connects the two parts of this winged sort of like object that I've got there. It's actually a spoke wrench. Let's come in here and start to find. Right in here, I think. See? I'm starting to find this big form here. Boom, boom. Let's get that kind of mapped out a little bit more. Not too worried about some of the detail that's in there. I've got this vertical right now. I don't know where it stops, but I can find it. That'll help me. Let's come down just a little bit further. I might be off in some angles, and that's okay. Right there. So there, I've got the inside of this wing now. And then, we're in pretty good shape. That was actually one of the harder parts to find. Let's find that darkness. There, see, found it. There's that hole. That's exactly where it goes. We'll find out later. There. There's the bottom part of that wing going off this way. I know that I've still got to find this circular piece right up here. There's a hole in it up there. I don't know where yet. I'm okay with this. I really like how this is coming together now. I've almost got all the pieces and parts in there. I need to start to find this big wing here that comes out, and then we'll find the bottom of this one, dial some of these little pieces in, and then we'll be ready to start value mapping. It does take time. It does take time. Let me see how far out this is. Just a moment. 1, 2, it's about a third. Guess about right there. 1, 2, 3. I took it out a little farther, but I feel okay with that. I'm hoping you hear me talk, because I want you to actually hear that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that if I keep working, we'll get there. Okay, so this one's kind of a tough, aha, found it. It's right in there. We'll dial it in once we do our value mapping. But I found it. I found the shape. It's right there of that wing. I feel good about that. Let's drop this guy down, start to find the bottom of that. Now I can come in and I know where this is. Let's find the top of these long horizontals that go in. So you see, sorry, diagonal here, diagonal here, diagonal here, in here. Doesn't matter if anyone else can see what you're doing and understands your painting. It just matters that you understand what's happening in the painting. Okay, now this is going to get smaller. It's there. It does narrow down this dark one here. It's a tool that narrows. Good. So we've got this big form, this big form. Just need to find that last one, and we're almost there. I'm actually going to see what I mean about context. Now that I know what I'm looking for, I wanted to bring that arc up a little higher in relationship to these other pieces. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start to establish the bottom of this form. And not super worried about it being perfect. Ah, that feels really good, actually. I know the arc's a little off on that, and we'll get it there. This big sweeping arc, it's a little flat. It feels a little better, but it's also kind of a flat thing. Let's get this hole figured out. There's another hole right here. I'm not going to go into them and really dial them in. I just want to represent them for now so that I know they're there, so that I can find this form in the back. Next thing I want to do is sort of establish that right there. I'm going to leave that tool alone. I'm going to find the bottom of this loop right here. I'm not too worried about shadows and stuff and all that yet. That'll happen when we start to value map. But there we go. We've got kind of all of the pieces and parts that we need on there, the major big components. Now there's some areas like here, there's stuff happening there, but it's value work. So we'll kind of deal with that when we start to value map. Same thing with what's happening in the back. Once you see the value mapping come out, it'll make a lot more sense. So that's kind of, oh wait, I forgot one last thing as I'm sitting here looking, and that's gonna happen on your painting, by the way. You're gonna realize that there are parts missing all the time. And it's your job to build them in. There, I feel a lot better about that. So that's that. That's how you start your sketch. The next video is gonna be value mapping.